Welcome back to Your Passion, Purpose, and Personal Brand. I'm Lisa McGuire, Strategic Identity Advisor, and this is part 2 of my conversation with Dr. Dawn Barden, author of Here Come the Girls and founder of ArchitectHer. In our last conversation, we talked about the leadership shift that Dawn identified in Here Come the Girls and why women are increasingly aligned with what the future of business, work, and culture requires. But once you see the shift, the next question is, what now? Where do women go if they're already successful, already carrying responsibility, and already leading at this very high level? But they know the next era will require a different kind of clarity, capacity, and authority. And that's where ArchitectHer comes in. ArchitectHer is not simply a program. It's not a retreat or a conference. It's not another place for women to consume more information. It is a private, curated, year-long leadership architecture experience for high-capacity women preparing to build the next era. And Dawn, welcome back. We're going to start that conversation.
You just keep talking. You're doing great. I love that. Thank you. You just described it perfectly. It's gone from passion to commitment. And I'm just so excited to be able to share that with you and your listeners. So thank you again for having me back.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So we're going to start with the obvious question. What is ArchitectHer?
Yeah, it's a dream that's become a reality. It's really what it is. So at the core of all things, I'm an economist. I'm a behavioral economist. I spent 25 years on Wall Street. I had a great career, great living. I've been in a corporate world or private sector world, private equity and my own companies that I've owned for, 10 or 15 years now. But at the end of the day, I'm a teacher. That's just the bottom line. I'm a teacher and I love research. I love academics. Don't necessarily like academia, but I love academics. And Here Come the Girls came from that. It's the power of observation, the lack of judgment, and the desire for a better tomorrow. And as it all came to fruition, this thing started percolating inside of me going, God, wouldn't it be great if we could have a room full of these women together and they all learned together. They grew up together. They shared ideas. They collaborated. Wouldn't that be fascinating to teach that type of class? And as adults, as you know, teaching is a little bit different. But at the end of the day, to deliver stellar content with an opportunity to do it, it was just a dream that I had. And then as Here Come the Girls rolled out, I think it was number 1 on Amazon in the economics for about 15 weeks. And the global impact that we've already seen happening. And people like this week, I've been on the phone with France, with Iceland, with London this morning even. It is really catching steam. And it's a topic that men and women want to be a part of. But women have been coming to us. At the same time I had the dream, women were coming to us going, I've got a dream too. I want to have a place where I can go to be around other women like myself. I love going to class. I take all these master classes. I do this, I do that. A lot of testosterone in the room. I just want to be around other women that we're all in the same boat together. And so as I had the dream and then people started talking about it, it became fruition. We made the commitment, we had the courage, and we did it. And it's been an overwhelming response. So we're excited about it.
Yes, we truly are better together. And so to get us all in the room, it would be just the power is limitless. But, Dawn, when you're talking about learning, right, or an experience, but the learning the content part, why did this need to become a room and not just a book or a keynote? We could go here, even a keynote or even a course.
Mm-hmm. It's all about how you learn. Everybody learns differently. We can all read books. That's fine. But the reality is you're going to take out of it what you want, and it's going to be very limited to your own capacity. But if you're in a room, especially with other women, you're going to see different angles, different ideas, different thought processes, different ways of thinking about your thinking. And because no one is in it for themselves. And that's the one beautiful thing I found out about the female leaders is they really do want everybody to rise together, everybody to have an opportunity. There's no hoarding. There's no, holding things back. It's just how do we share? So if you think about this, if you self-study, great. but you're limited to what you can think about in the only way that you know how to think. If you're in a room with 30 other women who are in the same boat as you, juggling the same amount of balls up in the air as you, and you're having conversations with them and they're contributing, it's almost like you've created multidimensional universes. Because, and I talk about this when we do quantum physics. I know how far away from economics can you be, but we do. I teach a class on quantum. And when you look at that and you say, okay, you, Lisa, me, Don, I have my own perspective of the world, and that's my perspective. You have yours. We can, when this podcast is over with, you can remember things differently than I remember it, right? So you have your universe and I have my universe. What happens when the universe is linked together though? I just double my universe by sharing time with you. You double your universe by sharing time with me. Think of what happens when 30 people are in the room combining their universes together and talking. Now, it's not all universal. It's not all things happen at all times, but the opportunity for expansion beyond your own capabilities can only happen when you're in a room of like-minded people. And in this case, we listened. It's all women, for women, about women. It's a safe, non-judgmental place. It's feminine, but not girly. And it's not a typical hotel conference room type thing. It's a real awesome experience where you're going to want to come back. And it's just 4 times a year. So what happens is we created this environment where women can come 4 times a year. It's in Toronto, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. It's a beautiful city. It's walking distance from all the major hotels. It's in a beautiful class facility with beautiful skyline views and windows. And it's just over the top as far as an experience goes. But because all that is removed, because you can sit back and say, I'm comfortable and relaxed in a beautiful experience. I'm not all cramped up, in a hotel conference room with my elbows like this because 2 people, they try to cram as many seats in there as possible. I'm relaxed. I got a coffee barista over there. I got all these people. I got everything I ever want to be in the moment. And guess what? The person next to you feels the same way. And the person next to you feels the same way. And they're all sitting there and you start talking. And then your universes start to collide and they start to meld into each other. And you take it far beyond your own capacity because somebody else might say that one little thing that you needed to hear. And it might have been while you're standing in line getting a cup of coffee. You never know. But the opportunity is there. And that's what I think I'm the most excited about.
I can't wait just to see what this is. Like the way you describe it is so exciting. But, I think people heard these messages of Here Come the Girls. And I sat in a room when you delivered this to a group of senior level executives here in Atlanta last year. And I just saw people lean in. But what did you see women need after they heard this message? Like, what were women asking you for?
That's a great question. Everything. I don't know if there was any one, but what Here Come the Girls did was open the doors to possibility. And everybody comes up with their own questions around what to do. How do we do? How am I best prepared? How do I bring people up around me? How do I make sure my daughters and my sons have this same type of opportunity? The questions are endless. But the reality is the pool of opportunity of where those questions can be answered. That's the key. Because again, your universe is different than my universe, which is different than her universe, which is different than his universe. So we've got to be able to create a room where everybody can come together so that those questions can be asked and answered in a way that's relevant. And I think that's the key to a lot of things that are happening. On a sidebar, and this is really important, so I hope you don't mind me jumping a second on this. We're going to see some industries face an extinction event coming up, and it has nothing to do with AI. AI's beautiful, it's wonderful, but it's sort of the spell check of this generation. It's just a tool. And when it calms down, we're going to see that 30 years ago, we had editors who would spell check things. Now we don't have to do that anymore. Okay, I'm sorry. If you grew up wanting to be a spell check editor, it's not a good career for you anymore. But there's other careers that are out there, right? So all this stuff is starting to happen. And this extinction event that a lot of industries are going to be facing is based not on AI, it's based on a single word. And that word is relevant. Are you relevant? Because if you think you've got the greatest idea out there, and it might be, the obvious question to ask next is, okay, how relevant is this to the consumer? How can we be relevant to society, to the world? Because relevance is going to be the key. And what Here Come the Girls does is it gives women the keys to say, the whole world is yours now. How do you want to be relevant? Well, that's the biggest question of all, isn't it? Because you sit back and go, wow, that answer could go in 1,000 different directions. Yes, it can. But if you're in a room with 30 women who are all seeking the same thing, they're wanting to be relevant. They want to master their feminine energy around leadership. They want to be a major impact player for not just the current economy, but all the future generations to come, because this is going to be a big impact. Then the big thing is, okay, are you prepared? Which is what we're all about. But two, are you going to be relevant? And relevance, I think, is the number one question. How do I become relevant? And the answer is a little bit of luck, a little bit of hard work, and a lot of opportunity to collaborate and be around other like-minded people who can help you change the way you think about your thinking. And that's the most important question to be answered. And I believe with all my heart, that's what most people come away from ArchitectHer with is, oh my God, I got a lot of answers, but I feel so pumped up now because I feel relevant. They might use a different word, but that's what it boils down to.
Yes. And, I think when I first heard the research, like at last it was, oh, there is validation. And this is what is resonating with so many people. It's not just, I think it's happening. You've done this research. You've been able to prove it. You've got the economic numbers in it. So, okay, this is possible. What does this mean for me? And how do I listen to see what's out there, to see where my place will be and how I can best contribute and even step into that higher level? Which brings us to the next area, Don, is I want to talk about the woman this was created for, because I don't think it's just a demographic description. This is an identity. No accident we're talking about that, right? It's a woman carrying a certain level of responsibility, influence, and most of all, readiness. So who is the woman ArchitectHer was created for?
Yeah. Okay. We start with the basics, but it's a deep philosophical question. So if you want to come to ArchitectHer, we'd love to have you. You need to be in some type of corporate or individual leadership position. Doesn't matter how many employees you have. Doesn't matter if it's Fortune 100 or Fortune 10,000. It does not matter. Doesn't matter if you own the local deli. It's just you have to raise your hand and say, in my quest to be relevant, in my quest to be part of the greatest shift in the economy ever, in my quest to be the best woman I can be, how am I going to get there? And I think it comes from being around other people and other women that are like that. So to me, that's the ultimate question to be asked is, as all of this starts happening, who am I? You're a female. You're in some type of leadership. Doesn't matter big or small. You can lead one person. You can lead 10,000. It doesn't matter. I work for a company, but I don't own it. Great. That's fine. I own the company. Great. That's fine. If you're a leader, either up and coming, you're already established, or you're on the tail end of this and just want to mentor and help, this is for you. That's the type of woman we want to work for. Now, if you just graduated college, you're starting to work for one of the big firms and you got a long way to go, we'll still be there. It's not right for you now. But if you're already in some form of leadership, no matter what it is, this is good for you. I promise you.
Yeah. So what is the ArchitectHer woman carrying that other people may not see?
Wow. Well, it goes back to what we talked about in that earlier episode. The data supports that women carry 290% more burden, more activities than their male counterpart does. Now, again, in full disclosure, like we said before, that doesn't mean if you're carrying 297 things and you're juggling these things up in the air and he's only carrying 50, that doesn't mean that his 50 aren't really freaking big. So he might be going, oh, carrying like this while you might just be doing this. But the sheer volume of it is what separates it. So what happens with ArchitectHer is you come in and we acknowledge quickly, yes, you're juggling more things. You're carrying more things than what men do. We're not discounting what men carry at all, but how are you going to get your head around that so you can be the ultimate in your feminine energy, which means you might want to be a wife. You might also be a mom. You might be a grandmother. You might have all these things going on, but at the same time, you got to put on your leadership hat and do that too. This is a safe place to explore all of that and to know when we go through the lessons, and the lessons are very, very defined. You walk out of there every single time going, oh, now I get it. Or, oh, I didn't think about it that way. Or better, I've always known that. I've always done that. I've always thought about it, but I didn't know how to structure it. And now I see it. I know why I'm doing it. And the tenet that drives everything that we do is I don't care if you know this material or not. I really don't. I want you to understand it. And understanding is so much more important than knowledge, because that's where you bring it into your universe, is understanding, wisdom and understanding. Solomon's prayer, give me the wisdom and understanding to know what I'm supposed to do with this stuff. Okay. And if you have that, then you go out and apply it on your own and you create magical, wonderful things. If you just want to know it, read the book, right? It's fine. But you're limiting yourself to what you can do. You collaborate and you be in a room with 30 other women at various levels of leadership. Some of them are going to be a lot lesser than you, but you're going to look at her and go, oh, I remember that. I remember when I was in her shoes. Or somebody that is socially maybe above you and you're aspiring to that, go, I can't wait to be like her. Well, guess what? She's looking at you going, I remember when I was like you, and I want to help you. I want to lift you up, together. So that's what happens. That's the ultimate takeaway from this is the collaboration, the opportunity, and the chance to be around other women where you will walk away with absolute understanding. You'll know it, but you'll understand it. And that's something we can't grade. That's something that is going to be up to you as an individual. But I guarantee you, and I promise you, every lesson, every thought, every word that comes out of my mouth when we're teaching is drilled in toward understanding. That is so much more important than knowledge.
Spoken like a true teacher, and I have a background in academics as well. And, Don, I think the thing is, it's one thing to know it, right? But to integrate and to embody it and to be able to put it out into the world, that is where I see these women have a chance to really step into that future self that they've been dreaming of, wondering where that person is. It's the way to get there. Yeah. So yes, caring what people don't see. Yeah, no, I think that's good. Yeah. But why might a woman who already appears successful need a room like this? Because, we could be at a good place and, we've arrived, right? We've hit that mark. Why might they already, who are those people already there, still need a room like this?
Well, and that's a great point. I'll give you a very honest answer. You might not. I mean, if somebody says, look, I've arced this thing out. I am good. I'm tired and I'm done. Okay. I get that. Cheers to you. That is good. But most great leaders aren't like that. Most great leaders look into the future and say, I still got room. Just one more chance, one more opportunity. And as you look at great leadership, and here's an interesting statistic that did come out of the study. Did you know it takes an average of 23 years of corporate or business experience to really get to a level of leadership where it's undeniable? 23 years. So if you start your career when you're, say, 24, you're talking about 47 to 50 years old before you can really sit back with some comfort and say, I'm a good leader. I've learned how to do this. But that's also pretty young. And so if you look at it and say, I'm done, I hit my goal, I quit. All right, it's not for you. But if you look at it like most people do and say, I'm not done. I want to keep going. I want to make a bigger impact. I want to know what this new human economy is about. I want to be around other women who will share ideas again. So we're not the smartest person in the room. You're in a room where everybody's getting smarter together. Then that's for you. If you're quitting, thank you for your contribution. It's great. Not for you. If you got time and you want to learn and keep growing and keep making the impact, even if it's to the point of you're just going to share it with your team, your daughters, your granddaughters, your sons and grandsons, it doesn't matter. That I think makes it worthwhile. There's unless you just absolutely done and you quit, this room's for you. I promise you.
And I want to call out the new human economy means we're heading into uncharted territory. Yeah. So you may be successful, but the other thing I could see in that too, Don, is, a lot of people look at leaders and think they have their act all together, but it could be really lonely. It could be really lonely, right? Where you can't talk to other people on your team because they don't have some of the access to information that maybe that, you do, or the level of leadership or some of the problems that you have. So I would challenge people who say this is not for me, to go back and question, are you a learner? Are you interested in growing, or is where you are good enough? And if it is, bravo to you, because if that is, where you've been looking to go and you're happy with that, I think that's great. But my question is, if we're moving into this new human economy, what does that look like for you and your level of success?
Yeah. No, you're right. And thank you for saying what you just said.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up. It is lonely. It's
Mhm.
really lonely. And unfortunately, a lot of your relationships at a certain type of leadership in a certain place in leadership isn't real. It's sustainable and it's applicable to the situation, but it's not real. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. I had someone ask me about a month ago, they said, "What's your love language?" And I know the love language concept is brilliant. Acts of service, physical touch, affirmations, all those things are brilliant, 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 brilliant. But I struggle with that. I was like, I don't think I have one.
Mhm.
And they said, "Why?" And I said, "I think I'm too hard." And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I've been a CEO for a long time. I've had a lot, big Fortune 100 type, work. And what you learn in leadership is all these people that are around you, the ones who compliment you, the ones who are always the first to shake your hand, the ones who go get you a drink, the ones who do things for you, they kind of want something in return. And
Mhm.
look, I'm not knocking there's
That's
some
human.
really great people out there. But what happens is you get hardened to it. So if you think, well, affirmation is my love language, but how come everybody at work always tells me how great I am? Well, you realize pretty quick because they want something out of you, or they might want something, or they're positioning. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's nothing wrong with it, but it takes it away from you. And you might wake up one day and go, I'm so used to being around so many people who are telling me what I want to hear that
Mhm.
I'm not even sure I know what I want to hear anymore, other than the truth. And I realized that, and I thought, well, that'd be an interesting study, but I don't want to do it. But it'd be an interesting study to see at a certain level of leadership where your mindset shifts away from the deniability or the believability of all these people that are, saying nice things to you. Well, there's a fix for that. You be in a room with other people who are also leaders in the same boat that you are, no walls built around them, no reason for you to kiss up to somebody that you're sitting next to because they might run the largest railroad in Canada and you might run the deli, in Atlanta. Who cares? Everybody's in this thing together. You have the same problems, the same opportunities, but more important, you have that same connection of the loneliness around leadership and the ability to be in a community that's in that little room, which you may be friends, you may not be. You might grow and develop some friendships over time. It's not instant, but that lack of judgment, that room where it's safe, that room where you can talk to people who get it and they understand everything that you understand because they've lived it too. Man, the power of that is amazing because you have a chance to be authentic in a world that a lot of times in leadership, you can't be as authentic as you wish you could be. So I think that's the biggest part of this.
Yeah, no, I think so. And when we think about like the architect or woman that is in the room, how do you think about curating the room? Because, like, as you said, it may be someone who has a very large team or enterprise venture, or it may be a solopreneur. I'm a third generation entrepreneur, and I know the skills that I have in this role versus when I was an employee for someone else. But how do you think about curating that room, Don?
You
What
mean
are
the
you thinking
selection
about?
of the people?
I'm sorry.
You mean like the selection of the people in the
Yes,
room?
yes. Hmm.
There is that. As long as you're in leadership and you're
Hmm.
at that level, you're welcome. Because
Hmm.
I believe in this world of collaboration that women are bringing to the table, that everybody learns from everyone. You might
Hmm.
have somebody that's a Fortune 500 CEO and she's sitting next to, I keep using the local deli, but it's very
Yeah.
real. You just own a local deli, you got 20 or 30 employees, you're open 7 days a week, you're running multiple shifts. That CEO of the bigger company might be looking at you going, God, I'd give anything to have your job. I would
Hmm.
love to be hands on with the customer again. I'd love to be back there getting dirty. I'll make bagels. I would love to do that again.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the person that runs the deli might be sitting there going, I'm so tired. How do I bring somebody else in? How do I add another shift? How do
Hmm.
I outsource some of this stuff? Well, she's looking at the Fortune 100 CEO going, man, you got it made. So they're both looking at each other with a little bit of admiration, right? But when they start talking to each other, this is why we don't curate the room other than you're a woman and you're in some type of leadership, whether you own it or you're not. All of that stuff comes together into this soup of understanding where you might befriend that CEO and she might say, oh my God, I'd do anything to be back there making bagels. I don't care if I have to be there at 3 a.m. I would love to do that. It's been my dream to do something like that, to interact with customers. And she's sitting there saying, but I wish I had scalability like you do. They start sharing ideas, and there's no judgment. There's no woulda, shoulda, coulda. It's just, oh man, let me share with you my thought. And going back to that universe thing, now the universe is combined and you just doubled your capacity because you talked to somebody that you might not have been able to talk to before, who didn't judge you, who is authentic in their love language, who knows you're not trying to get anything out of them, just a better day. And who doesn't want to share that, with people? So that's why the cohort of the room, the construct of the room is just around women in some form of leadership. And the sharing and the collaboration will take care of itself. It already has. It does. I see it all the time.
Yeah. And I think the value in that, like I think of the beauty of the diversity of industries and positions and different roles. Like you hear something, you're not in your environment, you're not in your work environment, you're off in this beautiful non-hotel conference room, right? Where you're really
real class,
really having time to be present and listen to people. And as you do, you're hearing what they're saying and thinking about how does that connect to a way it could be applicable in my world. So I think that, I think it's brilliant to bring people together from different areas as well. I'm doing that.
Different countries too. We do everything in English, but there's multiple countries involved in this. People are flying in from Mexico, we've got interest now in Chile. Canada, of course, will be big. The United States. So you can't get more diverse than this. So it's a lot of fun. And you know what? I've been in these classes before where I remember one time I was talking to some guy. He owned the largest kiwi farm in Madagascar.
Oh, wow.
One of the most lovely conversations I've ever had. And we talked about business. We talked about ideas and concepts and distribution and employees and leadership style. I couldn't even remember where Madagascar was at first. And then I'm like, Kiwis? I didn't know that. It was just fascinating. But that diversity is beyond what anybody can conceptualize until you're there. And then you realize that we're not as diverse as we think we are. We live in different places. We have a different vibe, a different look. We're the same. We're all the same, especially when you get to leadership. So it's nice to be able to share those ideas and concepts.
It is. So you've referenced the room a lot. And I'm not necessarily talking about the physical room, although that is part of it. But why is the room itself the value? Because a lot of people come in and they want to see what's the curriculum, right? Oh, right. Have I learned this before? But no, there's something about the room. Tell me about that.
Well, again, it goes back to the people, right? And the people who are seeking understanding are magnetic. And we're real clear. So when somebody signs up, I do a 30-minute call with every single new person who signs up, which never goes 30 minutes because it goes a lot longer.
Yeah.
I'm there as long as you want me to be. We'll talk about things. But what happens is in the room, the room is the magic. The room is the sort of the container for this opportunity to understand yourself, to understand the future, understand other people around you, and to get those great ideas. So the room is everything. That's why it's purposely not a hotel conference type thing where everybody's rows to rows. You have a big table to yourself. There's 5 people per table, lots of elbow room on it. You get a lot of materials that are study worthy. The conference, the actual lecture that goes on, it's not a different person every hour, by the way. It is it's like you're in class. There's a lot of breaks. We get it. We're all adults. There's a lot of breaks, but this is a continuous and intimate setting where you're connected to the teacher, you're connected to your peers around you, and then hopefully as a cohort grows, some friendships are made. But that can't be done in rows, and I heard a great saying a long time ago, you got to get people out of rows and into circles. And that's basically what we did. They're not literally circles, but they're the type of configurations where you're with a group of 4 or 5 people just at your table with a lot of room. And there might be 5 or 6, 7 tables in the room. I think 30 is the max we try to do. But you start to see how collaboration works, and the room actually becomes the magical vessel of which this occurs from. But it's very thoughtful. Let's just put it that way. We put a lot of thought into how it's done. Everything about it is not what you expect. And I would hope that people want to come back as much for the content, but they want to come back as much for the room as well and the people that are in that room.
Yeah, that makes all the difference. The people that are there that you feel drawn to, you feel alliances with.
Yeah.
But, not everything happens in that room. And you and I have talked about this before. Let's talk a little bit about side conversations, the value of side conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. The side conversations, the dinners, the breaks, things that happen, friends that you meet. I think I mentioned this before. We purposely did that on Tuesday. So all the sessions are on Tuesdays. And the reason why is if we wait till Thursday or Friday to have the classes, then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday have a vote. Things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting to say that, look, we're going to do this on Tuesday. Monday, you can travel up. We'll have a cocktail hour the night before, but you get to start collaborating and meeting people and feeling safe and feel wanted. And you get this desire for the understanding that's there. But I think I mentioned this earlier too. Boy, we've had a lot of women saying, "Oh, thank God it's on Tuesday." I explain it. Yeah, we didn't want Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to have a vote and whether or not you attend because things happen. And they're like, "Oh, no, no, no. We don't care about that. We care about where we're telling our families that we're flying up on Saturday without the family, that I'm going up on Saturday. I'm going to spend Saturday night and Sunday in a beautiful city by myself, just relaxing, having a break. And then we'll start on Tuesday." So there's a lot of advantages to the room and the cohort and the breaks and everything else. So yeah, you'll be part of a community of like-minded people who want to get better together. But it is those little side breaks. It is hey, I don't know you, but are you grabbing dinner tonight? You want to grab something? Or you might see them in the hotel and say something to them. And you never know where it's going to go. But that's the beauty of it, is the conversation isn't classical education, which means classical education is called feet forward, bottom on the chair. You put your butt in the seat, you put your feet forward, and you listen. And then we're going to give you a little test, and we're going to judge you on that test. We don't do that. This is a continuous experience where it's about understanding, which means there's no grades. Everybody passes. And the conversations that occur to that, that's what makes it worthwhile. And the conversations, like you said, they might be in line to get a cup of coffee. It doesn't have to be in the class. So that's the beautiful part of this.
Don, I think we're at an interesting point in our history where we've been online so much, and that was forced, right? We came into that. Yeah. We spent a lot of time on Zoom screens, and now we're seeing just an overwhelming resurgence of people who want to meet in person.
Thank God. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. There are so many rooms now that women can enter. There's retreats, right? You'll see a lot with retreats, masterminds, conferences, coaching programs, leadership trainings, networking groups, and personal development experiences. So you're very clear that ArchitectHer is not trying to fit in any of those categories. Right. What makes ArchitectHer different than any of those opportunities that I mentioned?
Yeah, it's the intention and the ambition. Women are coming to this because they're ambitious, because they want to be better, because they feel that I can walk away not just learning it, but understanding it too. But it's intentional, and it's intentionally safe. It's intentionally a community. It's intentionally all women. Everything about that is designed. And you know what it's not? It is not a rah-rah session. I know, because I've experienced this now for years of doing this, is that you will walk away from there inspired and motivated. But are we going to sit there and pound our chest and break boards and scream and stand up and down? And no. This is about content delivery that's important. And there's a lot of it, and we're going to compress it, and we're going to get there. But we're also going to have these things, and we do this, which I love, is there are sort of little breakout sessions we do. So in some of the segments, we say, hey, look, let's talk about this. What is it that you've got going on right now that you feel really good about it? Write it down. Okay, let's break up into groups of 3 or 2 or whatever you want to break into. And why don't you share that with the other person and then ask the other person what they would do? So we force collaborative talk going on between the two. But what it also does is it recognizes that you've got some good stuff going on right now. You might be stressed to the max. You might be pulling your hair out. You might be ready to kill somebody, but you look down and go, oh, ain't so bad. I like this. And then somebody else shares it, what they're doing, and you kind of reinforce it, with each other. That's as close as we're going to get to a rah-rah session. And I see a lot of these things. And I think COVID and the world of that brought out a lot of people. And God bless them. I hope they have wonderful careers. Everybody's a coach. Everybody knows. Everybody's 25 years old, wears a short dress. They look real good. That's great. But then they get up there and they're like, I can teach you how to do this stuff. And I'm like, have you ever bought car insurance before? How dare you? Come on. You're 25 years. I mean, I am cheering for you in your career. I think you're going to be great. But there's a whole lot of that false bravado that's going on out there. And we're intentional of not being that way. This is for women, by women, feminine, but not girly. Everything that we've been talking about, that happens here. So if you want a place to come to where you're going to walk away and go, wow, I get it now. Wow, I understand it. Or wow, that nugget, that one line that I heard, that one thing that happened at 9:30 this morning, that is what mattered the most. That I can carry back and do something with. And another thing we found, this is fascinating to me, and is every 90 days, come back to the same place, same cohort. Now, if somebody has something happen, like a grandbaby's born or something, and you can't make it, fine. We'll put you into another class that month and we'll figure it out. We're not worried about that, but we're going to get you back into your same cohort, as you go along. But as it goes along, what happens is you realize that when you look back over the last 90 days from the prior session that you were done, the amount of work that you got done, the amount of things that you accomplished that you might, maybe, probably not have accomplished or thought of it the same way had you not been in the cohort, just by acknowledging that 90 days of growth, by acknowledging that 90 days of maybe I was a little lost, on it, but just by acknowledging it and being able to talk about it and recognizing that it's not so bad, or it is bad, but the person I was sitting next to, they had the same type of situation. As we were talking about it, I'm talking to her, she's talking to me. We realized it's not as bad as we thought it was, and that's why these 90-day segments are so important, because it's just enough to apply what you've learned and then enough to reset so you can get ready for the next 90 days. So it's a rolling 90 days that introduces new material, new concepts, and new levels of understanding every time while building on the prior. But the design of the 90 days allows you to celebrate what you've accomplished, get excited about what's coming up in the future, and be really pumped up about what's going on right now. And then sharing that with everybody else makes it just a phenomenon that it's really hard to explain unless you're there. But it's just not those rally, jump up and down with a bunch of 20-year-old cute people that are very, very pretty. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying this isn't it. That is not going to happen here. This is real people with real experience, with lived experiences, who want to share and talk about it with enormous amounts of academic data supporting it. That's what this is about. This is real. It's very real.
And I want to call out something, because when you're talking about maybe people who are not as experienced in their career and they position themselves to look accomplished, Yeah. I've got quite a bit of experience in personal branding. And this is one reason where I've taken a step a little bit to the left back to identity, because I see personal branding as performing, as what mask do I need to put on to get you to do what I want. But I want to go back to something you said really early in that question, Don, is it is a safe space. And it was 3 episodes ago on this podcast. You can go back to it. It's about visibility and imposter syndrome, visibility reluctance and imposter syndrome. Visibility reluctance is a fear of not feeling safe. So to be able to go into a room where we have created this environment where you do feel safe, where you do feel like you can share and collaborate and you're not competing with other people, that is priceless. That is priceless.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about the year itself, not the list of modules, but maybe as a transformation. Because the question I know that many women will ask is, how does this change me? And how do I take it back into my world? So could you speak a little bit to maybe the transformation arc of the year?
Yeah. Thank you. So the first session is always the most important one. That's hard and deep. I mean, it's a fire hose coming at you, but you're going to walk away from there going, wow, now I've got something to build on. Because we really hit hard with Here Come the Girls, the data, the research, the perfect plan, what the elite performers around the world, men and women, are doing differently, but the evolution into the human economy and what women are going to have when they're moving forward. That sets the stage and the foundation for the entire year. And then we start building on individual concepts, not just around that, but we're introducing new ideas. So the curriculum design is set so that every single time you come, you can take something back that is going to be so relevant. There's that word again, relevant, that anybody is going to say, oh my gosh, I'll try this. I see exactly what you're saying. And then also, like we've talked about, the breaks, the room, the people you talk to, you might come back with something that wasn't even on the curriculum. You were just talking to somebody at dinner and it's like, oh my God, I didn't even think to bring that up. That's going to change the trajectory of everything, that we're doing. Or a question might get, and this happens all the time. People just ask a random question and they're brave enough to ask, but there's probably 5 other people in the room that had the same question they wanted to ask, but didn't want to. So all of that stuff comes together throughout the year. And the transformation that they have is really around capability, that you come out of there going, I have more capability now, more knowledge, more understanding than I did this morning when I started at 8 a.m., just sitting down with my little barista and my omelet. I can go, wow, I am now better equipped for tomorrow than I was today. And it builds and builds and builds and builds. And if you think about this, it's like anything, athletics or scholarship, whatever, the more work you put into it, the better you're going to be prepared. Luck favors prepared. So you'll be able to, instead of being reactive, like we said earlier, out of fear when certain things happen, you'll be able to respond, which is love. And you'll have a team around you that receives it. And that level of trust and communication that comes between you and your team, because what you've earned here, is that's what gives you that 3x growth. I mean, is practically guaranteed, to do it. Like I said earlier in the first episode, somebody said to me one time, they said, even if you're half wrong, we'll take it. Yeah, that's right. So it's whatever you make of it. But that transformation that they experienced in that first year is life-changing. And more importantly, you might still be juggling 297% more things up in the air than a guy does, but you're going to be doing it with a smile. You're going to be doing it going, I got this. You're going to be doing this going, I got 297 balls up in the air. I can give 100 of them to this team over here because now they're qualified and they have the capabilities because of what I learned. And now the 100 balls that I'm juggling up in the air, I can be more intentional about it. I can focus on relevance about it. And I can continue to grow this business because I have a great team that's doing this without me. And they don't bring me problems. They bring me the solution to the problem that happened yesterday that they took care of without me even knowing it. That's nirvana. And nirvana, by the way, is not heaven. In Sanskrit, in the original, the Buddhist and the Hindi versions of it, what that means is you've separated yourself from a bad past. You've left the past behind. So that transformation isn't just, wow, look at what else I've learned. It's the ejection of a past where you were wanting to move on, but weren't able to. So the transformation is going to come in a lot of different ways, but it happens and it's amazing and it's nothing but good. And the trickle down effect for your team is amazing. So literally you'll increase production, you'll work less, you'll have a better understanding of it, and you'll have a team that can carry some of the weight for you. That's what you get out of this.
And what else I hear is the evolving that takes place for you personally, the confidence coming in there, the empowerment that I can do this. And you didn't even know it was possible. It's kind of like you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
But I do want to acknowledge that, it's not just your company. It's not just your business. It's not just your team. It's also your family and your personal life. So let's think about what impact that might have of what you're able to bring back into the people in your relationships.
Yeah. Like, for example, I think what happens is the stress level goes down, your attitude and understanding goes up. You run to work every day, but you run to work with such a level of confidence. Now you reset confidence all the time. Confidence shouldn't be something you sit on, right?
Yeah.
But you're confident in your confidence, and you're looking at it and going, okay, I'm a better person at work. Therefore, I'm going to be a better person at home. I'm going to be a better person on the weekends. I'm going to be a better person with my extended family. I'm going to be able to teach my kids, my daughters especially, and the guys too, but I'm going to be able to teach them things and perspectives that I didn't have before. So it's kind of like, you get your work life in order, everything else will fall into place as well. And I've always said, and I believe this is the key tenet of architecture, that there's no such thing as work-life balance. None. Work-life balance means 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, 8 hours of fun life. Show me where that's going to happen, right? What you want isn't work-life balance. You want work-life harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And the way harmony happens is your personal, your professional, and your spiritual life, whatever that is. They're in such harmony together that there's no decision that's in conflict with any of them. And you're living in a state of just kind of happiness where all of those are in harmony. And when your personal, professional, and spiritual life are in harmony, you can accomplish anything. It's like all the anchors and the weights are gone, and that will trickle to your family. It'll trickle to your community. It will set examples to your team of, yeah, you can do this. Now you might be young. You have to put in some extra time. Yeah, we've all got to work. You got to earn it, right? But look at what will happen to you. I've got a good life now because I've learned to be in harmony. I've got a good life because I've scaled. I've got a good life because I have a great team that feels seen, heard, and understood, which means they're valued and they're empowered. Mm-hmm. We have built this together. And you're at a different stage, but you got something to look forward to. So the example that you set for others, I think, is just as important as the reality of what happens with you as an individual. It's a trickle down ripple effect expansion that I don't even know if we can put our head around it, to be honest with you. It's not good.
Yeah, it just keeps on going. But I do want to take the opportunity to make this practical, Don, because some women will be sponsored by companies.
Sure.
Some will be founders and some will be entrepreneurs, but some will be also leading movements and communities or even advisory work, right? Some are going to be shaping culture from inside of an organization, and others will shape culture through the work that they're building. So why should companies care about ArchitectHer?
The exact same way an individual cares, because everybody's getting smarter together. Any company that exists in a myopic state and thinks that they're the best out there, they are dead wrong. And I tell every corporate client I've got, you need to get over this, that you're the best. I wouldn't even say that. There's lots of great choices. But if you want to ride the wave together, if you want to continue to grow, you've got to look at different perspectives, different attitudes, especially from your leadership. So a company can look at this and check a lot of boxes. They can look at it and say, okay, the future is female. We know that. How do we make sure that our women in leadership are best prepared? This is an avenue for you. And because of that, relevance comes back into play, right? We're relevant. She is relevant now internally to sort of share the message and help us grow, but that will trickle down to our workforce and our consumer base too. So you're tripling down on the relevance of that. So from a corporate perspective, if you're working for a big company and they've got any type of training, CE budget for it, or say this is a new line item, it's worth it. And think about this, and I've told people this. Let's just talk about that little deli again. Let's say it's a big little deli, and they're doing $1 million a year. And let's say it's got a margin of 30%, right? 1/3, roughly. So that means $1 million, the owner makes $300,000. Well, we're going to see 3x growth. So, okay, that means you're going to do $3 million. And $3 million at 30% margin, let's say it stays the same in a marginal increase, then that's $900,000. So you just took your income from $300,000 to $900,000 in a year or less. I don't care what the tuition is. The ROI on that is beyond what anybody can get. So a company looking at this saying, should I send our female leaders to it? Hell yes, you should send your female leaders to it. Just do the math. If her division, her leadership causes you to grow 300% revenue and profits, just look at the profit figure and then tell me if the tuition is worth it. And the answer is yes, yes, yes. So
Yeah.
whether you're on your own or through a company, obviously there's tax advantages of a company, paying for it. So however you get there is fine. And we work with people. We know the game, and so we can help people get it under budget and get it where they need it to be. If you're working for a big company and you want to do it, so we're very open. We encourage it. We want companies to sponsor people, to scholarship people, and the same way for associations. Some of these associations of women in leadership, if you want to send a couple people too, it's pretty darn smart. Because one thing I can tell you from being a writer and having a lot of books published is once your book is published and out, your work is out, you don't own it anymore. I mean, you get paid, but you want these small groups to sit around. I've had so many times, I've had people as far away as Shanghai call and say, hey, we've got a study group going on. Do you have any words of advice for us? I'm not getting paid for that group, but I am so happy. I'm so thrilled that the impact is going around the world and helping people out. And that happens all the time. So if a company or an association sponsors someone to go to this or multiple people to go with it, they're going to come back and they're going to share it within that organization and it's going to spread. So it's not the ROI on just her, an individual. It's the trickle down effect of the ROI, what she's going to do for your company. And she will take that data and go train people the same. And that, I think, is the exponential ripple effect that we can't even comprehend on it. So every company, every affinity group, every association should send somebody, to this. As long as she's a woman, that's all we care about.
Yeah.
No dudes.
Yeah. Don, as you were talking about that, I was thinking, the world with where we are right now is, what worked before is no longer working. That is very clear. And we don't really have people trained to lead the type of employee we have now. We've had work from home. We've had the disruption of being so much online. We've just got a different marketplace. There's nobody in the ranks that is really trained to move into this new human economy. Right. So I would see a big win for companies to be able to have someone in their staff, someone in their leadership who sees what is coming and knows how to lead in this way that could bring it back to the company. I see that as such a big win for that, for retention, for all types of support around it. Is that a clear way of thinking? Am I on target there?
Totally on point. Totally on point. Because again, it's what you do with it. And women collaborate. They don't hoard. So they'll come back in and share all that throughout the entire organization. And we even have materials if they want to take it back and they can use these materials within the workforce. So it's unlimited to whatever the person wants to do, but the ROI is off the chart. It's the cost is insignificant compared to the ROI that's involved in it.
Yeah, really clear. And I think, when we look here today at the impact to companies or the impact at our children that are watching these women lead in a different way than what I was able to lead for my children or my mother was able to lead, I just think it's going to just be such potential to change the world.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something earlier I wanted to talk about. The stuff that worked in the past doesn't work anymore, but that's normal. That's natural. That's supposed to happen. That's not a bad thing. And I think a lot of people, especially if you listen to the news too much, they get all, well, we're just doing this wrong. We're not doing it wrong. We're doing it the way we've done it. And now we're in an inflection point where we have to make some changes. And there are people who will fight that change no matter what. And then there's people who will say, no, let's explore this. And the example I tell students, and this is totally metaphor, it's totally made up, but you'll get it a little bit, but it's kind of timeline accurate. If you go back about 125 years ago in Akron, Ohio, and you go to the downtown area, it's a little crossroads, dirt streets, everything. Instead of a Starbucks being on every corner like it is now, there were farriers. And a farrier is a blacksmith. They make horseshoes, right? So you needed a blacksmith on every corner because horses were the way we got around. You had to have horseshoes. Well, one day, an automobile, a horseless carriage, drives through downtown Akron, Ohio. And all the blacksmiths get together and go, we got to stop this. We can't let this happen.
Yeah.
We're going to go out of business if people start driving these cars. Well, there's a big rally and all the blacksmiths in town got together. And again, this is made up, but you can see the point. There were two in the back of the crowd, two blacksmiths that were going, maybe we should think differently about how we think about this. Well, guess what? Their names were Goodyear and Firestone. And you know what? There's more tires being made every day than there are ever horseshoes made in the history of humanity. There are more people employed in the auto and the tire industry than ever were in the blacksmith industry. So you got people out there, and this happens today, every day. I don't want to change. I don't want to do this. We should just keep it everything the same. Go tell the horseshoe dudes that and ask them how that worked out for them versus the two who were innovative and aspiring and said, I think there's something we can do with this. And they started making tires. So that's what I think this is the best way to describe this. If you think you got it, you don't want to change, good luck. Let me know how it goes for you. It's going to be fine. If you think that, hey, I need to be innovative and on the cutting edge of this, I need to look at things differently. And as a corporation, we need to send women to this so that they'll know how to do this and they'll bring back ideas. One idea, one expression of understanding could be worth millions, if not billions of dollars to a company because you just open the mind and the eye to see something a little bit differently, just like the horseshoes. Maybe we should start making tires. Sounds obvious now, doesn't it? But it didn't back then. So that's what I think the beauty of this comes from.
Hi, this is Lisa McGuire, and I have a question for you. What does leadership look like in the next economy? Dr. Don Barden, author of Here Come the Girls, calls it the new human economy. And his research isn't a prediction. It's documented, doctoral level evidence of a shift already underway. Leadership grounded in trust, relational intelligence, and human-centered decision-making by women drives 300% greater revenue and profit growth and 200% better retention with production that keeps climbing over time. So here's the question for women already leading at this high level. What are you doing today to prepare for the leadership your next era is going to require? ArchitectHer is a private year-long leadership architecture experience for high-capacity women who are ready to architect what comes next. Created by Dr. Don Barden and me, Lisa McGuire, ArchitectHer brings together a curated cohort of female executives, founders, and decision makers from around the world preparing to lead inside the new human economy. This is a room built for women carrying real scale and responsibility, leading in a way that makes people feel seen, heard, understood, valued, and empowered. Together, you'll explore the shifts already reshaping leadership, culture, and organizational life, and gain real clarity on what the next era of business actually requires. You'll be in the room with some of the sharpest women in business 4 times a year. If you're already running companies and shaping where your industry goes next, ArchitectHer is built for you. So if you're ready to move from achievement into authorship, join the women preparing to architect the new human economy. ArchitectHer cohorts are curated, not filled. Learn more by clicking the link below or request a private conversation to see if this is the right room for your next era. Before we can move into the room, we need to share with women how they can apply Don. And I want to name this clearly. ArchitectHer is not about open enrollment in the traditional sense because you do have some expectations. So that means the application process isn't making sure that women prove they're good enough. It's about protecting the integrity of the room. So let's talk about why there is an application process.
Sure. And it's not an application like we're looking to reject people. We're not snobby about this. If you're a female and you're in any form of leadership, you're in. It's going to be good. But there are some people we don't want in. If we see that there's some parasites, some people that are, one-off coaches or whatever, and they're just in to try to meet people, to try to get clients, that's not welcome. This is a very, very serious academic approach that's laced with beauty, with reflection, with an experience that's next to none. So we're careful in the application process to make sure that no one comes in to the best of our ability that might mess that up. But all you got to do is fill out the form. You can go online. I know you're going to put it in the show notes so they can click on it and fill out the form. I'll give you a call or somebody from the team will. I try to call everybody myself. But if we can, then we'll talk through it and see if that's what's right for you. And if it is, we want you there. But it's not, when we say safe space, it's safe for you to be a whole woman. It's safe for you to talk about your hopes, your fears, your aspirations. It's safe for you to talk about the three dirty words, woulda, shoulda, coulda, which I don't like, but you can talk about it. It's safe, but it's also safe against predators. Nobody's going to come in there that is out to just grab your business or stick an electrical cord into you and try to suck the energy out of you. It's not that. Mm-hmm. So when we say safe, it's safe on multiple levels, but anybody's welcome. The local deli or the Fortune 100 company, I don't care if you're in the tire business or services. And I don't care if you're actually, we've had a lot of people that are like in the financial world and they have very, very small teams. You might even work for a big firm like Merrill or JP Morgan or something like that. But they say, look, we're really entrepreneurs inside of this big system and we want to do it ourselves. Fine. We want you there because you can spread the word too.
Yeah. I'd also like to call out nonprofit leaders, Don. That's one thing that we haven't mentioned, but that is a business as well and very much needed to be looking ahead. So what would you say to the woman who is thinking, this sounds incredible, but I'm not sure I can justify the investment or the time? What would you tell her?
That is your decision and your decision alone. Yeah. I can justify it for you easily. I'd love to have you there. I'm inviting you to the party. But at the same time, it's really up to you. But I always go back to ROI. And if you just look at it, like we said earlier, how much revenue do you have? What would your business be like? And how much profit would you have if you 3X that over the next year, year and a half? Well, then you compare that additional revenue and profit to the tuition, and you'll see that the ROI is bigger than any marketing you've ever done. It's bigger than any employee return you've ever had. It is actually the best investment you can make. And I was on record the other day on one of the big media outlets saying that the biggest, dirtiest secret Wall Street has is that you are a better investment in yourself than anybody else can sell you something or any stock or bond or mutual fund out there. You are the best investment ever. So I would look at it like, give it a shot, do it for a year. The ROI is going to be there. I'm not worried about that, but I think you'll be so compelled that not only will you want to keep going, you'll share this with other people too and say, hey, as part of my desire to collaborate and to see all of us grow together, I think you need to check this out, or maybe bring people from your own organization too. So there's all types of ways to get there, but I can't justify it for you. You've got to do it, but it's a math problem. And if you just look at what you're going to get versus what the cost is, and then compare it to your acquisition costs of marketing, guarantee you this is better. Guarantee this is better than any marketing spend or anything else you might have. That I'll put my neck on the line for.
And you called out something like the investment in yourself is more than anything you can get most anywhere else. And so that really leads to one thing I have seen. I've experienced this as myself as a woman is always investing in everyone else before we invest in ourselves. It's this belief we have that we have to have everybody else taken care of first. What would you say to that woman?
Wow. Thank you. I mean, seriously, that's the great feminine energy, isn't it? That you're willing to put yourself ahead of everybody else. So thank you. Honestly, thank you for being that way. I don't think there's anything negative about that at all. But I've flown around the world 4 or 5 times. Actually, I take it back. I've flown around the world 4 or 5 million miles. I've physically been around the world probably 10 or 12 times. And you know what? The one thing I tell you on the airplane is every single time, if the airbags deploy, put it on yourself before you put it on the person next to you. You can't take care of anybody else if you're not wanting to take care of yourself. So thank you for wanting to take care of other people, but you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself, first. Yeah. And when you do that, you'll realize that you can actually help more people. So I don't want women to change at all. I'm so grateful that you're that way. I can't see straight. I'm emotional about it, but you got to take care of yourself. And this is the best investment you can have. And you can take care of more people, when you do that. I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. So for the women listening who feel something stirring, ArchitectHer may not sound like something you simply sign up for. It may sound like something you recognize, or a room you didn't know you were looking for. A year you may need more than you want to admit. A circle of women who understand the level of responsibility you carry. And a place to stop simply succeeding inside of an old model and begin architecting what comes next.
Yeah.
So, Don, what would you say directly to the woman who feels like she may be part of this next era, but she's been waiting for someone to name it?
That's why we're here. That is why we are here. And as we talked about earlier, luck favors the prepared. That's not me saying that to the listeners. That's me talking about myself. If we look back in this journey, we look back to the very first piece we did 20 something years ago, which we thought was a separate study, but it turned out to be a prequel, to this. We did a thing 20 something years ago called The Perfect Plan. And The Perfect Plan studied the world's elite leaders and what they did differently, and with a deep understanding of why they did that. But it wasn't gender specific. We didn't really have the data to support the feminine rise that's happening now. It's just a general book. And it's used in, Microsoft, the US Army, Coca-Cola uses it. It's in 39 different countries right now. But when I look back at that, I thought, wow, that is such profound work. And it has built my career up through here. And it's still used as textbooks in a lot of universities right now. And I'm really, really proud of that. But all of that was building up to this. And Here Come the Girls it began with the power of observation. It began with a guy my age looking around going, wow, did anybody ever notice all the women around here? It's just like, that's literally how it started. And then I started playing with the math and I started doing this and I started going, I got giggly excited about that. So when you're talking about coming to something like this, it's not just because you're ready for it. The world is ready for it and we're ready for it. And all these things are converging at one time for a reason. And one of my favorite quotes ever is actually from the Hebrew, from the in the Old Testament, in the book of Esther. It's a great book if somebody hasn't read it. It's a wonderful story about a woman rising up and standing up for what was right, even when society said not to. But she's struggling. She's at a point where she doesn't know what to do. Do I tell my husband, the king, that something bad is happening here, but I'm not supposed to talk? What do I do? She's talking to her cousin or maybe uncle, depending on the translation, a guy named Malachi. And he just looks at her and he says the most beautiful thing. He says, don't you realize you are here for such a time as this? All these things in the past have brought you to here. You are here for this. So when I look at women out there now, and I even look at our work, we're here for such a time as this. We're here because the time is right. And nobody else is out there doing it the way we're doing it. Nobody is out there saying, hey, ladies, you're about to be in charge. Let's talk about this new economy. Let's talk about what you already do. And let's put form around it so we can structure it. We can build a contextual structure so you can take this and replicate it and scale it. Let's talk about, hey, this is deeper than just your career. This is the impact you're making on others. This is what your workforce, men and women, want. This is what your consumer, why they're pulled and magnetized towards you. Everything you have done in your life up to now leads to this. You're here for such a time as this. And I think all of that going on makes this such a special thing. There's not anywhere else out like this in the world, especially that's for women only. There's some great programs out there that are mixed. But like I said in that earlier episode, if you're in another room, another one, then 28 out of the 30 people in the room are men. There's a whole bunch of testosterone in there, and you might be able to handle it, might not, might like it, might not like it. I don't know. We've eliminated that. So all of this is here for a reason. It's intentional and it is relevant. So anybody out there who wants to be a part of this, don't question it, because you're here for such a time as this, and give it a shot. And it's just 4 days out of your life, maybe 8 if you look at travel on either end of it, but it's 4 or 8 great days in a year that is the price is inconsequential compared to the ROI, personally, professionally, and spiritually, that you'll get out of this, which creates harmony. I don't know what your budget is for that, but I would think it's unlimited. And if you can give an unlimited ROI on top of it, and the chance you have to impact and help other people, other generations, people that you don't even know, that's worth it. And that's what ArchitectHer is all about.
Don, I love that we are here for such a time as this. Yeah. And the fact that you have named this, that you have called it out, that you've given it economic credibility and a path to move forward, you truly are the leadership translator of the new human economy. Oh. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. That's sweet. Thank you.
There you go. Your new job title.
A new job. I'm no longer a professor. I'm the translator. That'd be great.
Yeah, of the new human economy.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thanks for being with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. And keep up this great work. I mean, I've listened to all of your episodes, and the problem that somebody like you or anybody in leadership has is, like we said earlier, sometimes the thank yous are superficial, but I think you really need to hear this, Lisa. There are millions of people that listen to this podcast, not this one particular episode, but all of your podcasts, that you don't get to get that thank you. You don't get to get the atta girl. And I want to do that for you right now. Way to go. Keep doing it. This is making an impact on people that you don't know. And your work reminds me of an old Chinese proverb that says that wisdom comes when you plant a seed to a tree that you will never enjoy the shade, but somebody will. And I think that's what you're doing. So I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm grateful for the work that you're doing. So please keep it up. You're here for such a time as this. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So if you are listening and something in you recognizes, pay attention to that. This is for women who are ready to move from achievement into authorship, from carrying everything alone into trusted proximity, and from succeeding inside the current model into helping architect what comes next. And I can think of nothing that's more exciting. So you can learn more about ArchitectHer or request a private conversation through that link down in the show notes. But my biggest takeaway as we wrap this up from this conversation is that ArchitectHer isn't just an experience that happens 2 days, 4 times a year. It's the beginning of how you'll lead for the rest of your career. And I'm excited to see who will be in the room. Thanks for being with us.